Welcome to another episode of Focus. My name is Linton Leonard, and this show is brought to you by the Department of Disaster Management. Now, we do not know when an earthquake is going to impact us, but we do know that some earthquakes can generate tsunamis, and therefore it is possible for us to know when and if we may be impacted by a tsunami. Are you prepared for an earthquake or a tsunami? Do you know what to do if there's an earthquake or tsunami? Do you know how to prepare for an earthquake or tsunami? Well, on today's show, we will look at a very informative documentary prepared by Sedima that gave you lots of information on earthquake and tsunami readiness. So get the entire family, get your pen and your paper, and when we return, we will get right into it and learn lots more of how to prepare for an earthquake or tsunami.
Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Shake. Shake. Drop to the ground and take a little cover under a table or strong furniture. Kneel. Bend your head close to your knees. Hold on to a table leg or desk, please. Hand behind your head, protect your neck with your arm. Stay away from windows, you must understand. If you don't have a shelter to hang on to, remain in a place till the shaking's through now. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Drop, cover and hold, stay in control. Drop, cover and hold. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Wave tsunami, wave tsunami, wave tsunami. Move away from doorways, windows and shelves. Heavy objects to drop, you could damage yourself. Cabinet and bookcases may also fall. Like pictures and objects mounted on the walls. And if caught outside, find an open space. Debris from buildings may fly in your face. Kneel or sit on the ground, cover your head and remember every word that I say. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Drop, cover and hold, stay in control. Drop, cover and hold. Don't panic. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Wave. Tsunami, wave. Tsunami, wave. Tsunami. Drop. Everybody now. Drop. I wanna see you now. Cover your head, cover your head. Drop. Say everybody now. Tsunami. I want you put up on your hands. Tsunami. I want you put up on your palms. Tsunami. Wave. Tsunami. Wave. Tsunami. Do not go home without permission. Stay and wait for help and instructions. Do not go down by the street to watch the action, just to talk about what has happened. In science lab, chemicals may drop. Exit only after shaking has stopped. Do not panic, everything will be fine. Don't use the phone line at this time. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Drop, cover and hold, stay in control. Drop, cover and hold. Don't panic. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Shake. Let me see you shake like earthquake now. Wave tsunami, wave tsunami, wave tsunami.
November 29th, 2007, a picture-perfect day in the Caribbean. No one suspected that from somewhere deep beneath the Caribbean Sea, a reality check was on the way. And then suddenly, in the early afternoon, a jolt from nowhere. The Caribbean was spared a disaster, this time. But scientists insist that the region is at risk from massive earthquakes and under threat from a major tsunami. In fact, experts say the Caribbean is overdue for a massive jolt of reality. Historical records tell the story of a Caribbean hit time and again by devastating earthquakes and tsunamis. The 2004 Asian tsunami painted a grim but vivid picture of what could visit the Caribbean. It can happen to us. The Caribbean is vulnerable to earthquakes and tsunamis. The big question is, are we prepared? The 2007 earthquake caught the Eastern Caribbean off guard. But is the region better prepared now than it was in November 2007?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't really know what we do, because I remember last year we experienced a little tremor, and that was very scary. So right now I'm not sure what I would do in case of an earthquake.
For me personally, get outside the building ASAP.
Well, there's nothing I can do but pray. You know, all I can do is pray and stay in the house. There's nowhere to run.
The evidence is undeniable. Most deaths from earthquakes are caused by buildings falling on people as they try to flee. Buildings that are built smarter, stronger, and safer can withstand much of an earthquake's force and save lives.
Even if a building is damaged by an earthquake event, the issue is that the building should be designed in a manner that the occupants can get out of the building safely.
No building is 100% earthquake proof, but engineers have found low-cost ways to build in earthquake resistance. A Caribbean building code is intended to guide contractors on building safer homes.
Building codes are very valuable because they establish certain criteria and standards that one should use to safeguard the stability of buildings.
If you're building a new home or remodeling your old one, speak to your contractor about what can be done to make your home earthquake resistant. Better yet, make sure it's built to code.
The codes help disseminate good building practice to the public generally. It helps inform draftsmen and designers of what they should pay attention to as far as designs are concerned. And it helps the common man if he understands the codes as to what he should put in his building in terms of his building's longevity or how his building will perform in an earthquake, hurricane, and these kinds of issues.
You can't have a code on the shelf. It has to be a work in progress, and it has to have the regulatory conditions to make it valid.
Building your home to code won't make your home construction more expensive. A building code provides guidance on proper construction and often adds less than 1% of the overall construction cost. 1% more cost for lives and limbs saved that can never be counted. Homeowners can also minimize the impact of an earthquake by ensuring that heavy furniture and appliances are bolted down and that breakables and other objects that can be tossed about are placed on lower shelves. And you and your family should develop an emergency plan and rehearse safety drills often. Everyone should know how to use the home emergency plan, and that includes emergency items such as at least 3 weeks of canned and dry foods, up-to-date medication, safe drinking water, flashlights, and battery-operated radios. National emergency officers throughout the Caribbean have been encouraging businesses to adopt approved plans to prevent a hazard, like an earthquake, from becoming a disaster.
It is important for many reasons, not least of which is that businesses have to ensure that their employees are safe, that their customers' safety is imperative, but also that we minimize the downtime that we experience after an event, and also it is important to have these plans for the long-term viability of businesses.
Building codes are the first line of defense in safeguarding life and property against earthquakes. Through experiments in seismically active areas like the Caribbean, engineers are now able to refine and improve structural designs. Businesses should not hesitate to contract those engineers during the design phase of commercial or industrial buildings.
I think you can't overemphasize the importance of professional services like engineers and so on in looking after these things, because at the end of the day, I think the message that you want to send is that natural hazards need not be national disasters, provided that you take the right the preparations and put the right plans in place.
Just as with all public buildings, commercial buildings should follow building codes. These buildings are then able to withstand severe earthquakes without collapsing. Contractors should also ensure that light fixtures, air conditioning units, windows, suspended ceilings, book racks, other office furniture, all non-structural parts are fixed securely.
Those kinds of things should be strapped to the wall. Water heaters, you shouldn't have your large television set or your fancy glass vase high up on a shelf. Those things should either be on lower shelves, or water heaters and whatnot should be down below or strapped to the wall so that to avoid things falling.
And the outside of the building is just as important as inside it.
In case of an earthquake and the place starts shaking, drop, cover, and hold on. Drop, cover, and hold on. In case of an earthquake,
there's a few tips that can keep you from harm. In case of an earthquake, you gotta stay calm. Move away from doors, windows, and things that can fall. Try not to use steps or elevators at all.
drop, protect your head and your face. Don't go running all over the place.
Cover,
under a bed or a table, against a wall that's firm and stable.
Hold on,
you must hold on, don't panic, stay calm.
Don't move until the shaking stops.
Here it is.
Drop, cover, and hold on.
Drop, cover, and hold on. In case of an earthquake.
Drop, cover, and hold on.
Learn how to protect yourself during an earthquake. Log on to weready.org. That's weready.org for more information.
What should you do when an earthquake strikes?
I think I'll try and get out of the house.
I'd run.
Get outside the building ASAP.
All wrong answers, and what you don't know can kill you.
Do you know that more people die from running in an earthquake than from staying put?
Surprised? Sure, but what do you do? Just sit there in the middle of an earthquake?
Just remember 3 things that could save your life in an earthquake. Drop, cover, hold.
Drop. When you feel an earthquake, drop to the floor. It's actually the safest place in the building.
Cover. Get under a bed or sturdy table and cover your head. It's protection from falling debris.
Hold. Anchor yourself to a firm support.
Stay right where you are till help comes, or until it's safe to come out.
Visit www.weready.org to know more about surviving earthquakes and much more.
Many people fleeing or just passing by can be hurt, even killed by falling bricks and plastic or by shattering windows.
If you are outside and you're in a sort of kind of city busy area, again, you stay away from glass windows, glass show windows, stay away from electricity poles, that kind of thing.
Certainly the advice for the public is to stay away from downpour lines because safety is important, and after events like this, you know, things may not be working as they should be. So really generally is to stay away from downpour lines.
Long before the 2007 quake brought its chilling reminder to the region, the Caribbean Emergency Response Agency, CDARA, had been working on earthquake preparedness. The recent focus was widened to concentrate on a comprehensive disaster management strategy, or CDM. Here, the goal isn't just preparing for one kind of event, but for all eventualities.
The CDM strategy speaks to the management of all hazards, not just the hurricane hazard, but all hazards that we face. Hurricanes, tsunami, earthquake, landslides, but also some of the man-made or man-induced hazards.
In the Caribbean, we are often better prepared for threats that happen frequently, such as hurricanes or other hazards that pose a constant danger. For example, the people of St. Vincent are more concerned with volcanic activity than earthquakes.
We've had small tremors in the past. Nothing that really caused any significant damage. And so persons would tell you more about, they would be more concerned about the volcano erupting rather than, say, an earthquake. And even from the experience of conducting some of the questionnaires for the earthquake readiness program, persons don't think that the risk of earthquake is really high. And they often associate shaking sometimes with the volcano going to erupt rather than an earthquake. That's the first thing they think of, is a volcano.
The key to preparing for any disaster, including earthquakes, is to be armed with the right information and to think safety at all times, whether there is a threat of a disaster or not.
And we recognize that the general public, adults, do need to have preparedness actions. But certainly we want to be able to inculcate that culture of safety through children, that they are able to take their practices into teenagehood and into adulthood, so that within the coming years we can really have a safe Caribbean environment.
The death toll for children dying in collapsed school buildings during the China earthquake of 2008 was horribly high, 7,000 dead, and in Pakistan it was even higher. In a 2005 earthquake there, 17,000 students died in collapsed school buildings. Experts believe that some of these buildings would have fared better and more lives could have been spared if building codes were enforced. It's critical that policymakers and building contractors in the Caribbean adopt strict standards in the design and construction of schools and other public buildings. Schools themselves can make their students safer by ensuring that bookshelves are fastened to the wall and that all heavy objects are securely bolted. It is essential to practice earthquake drills regularly. One drill is easy to remember and can save your life. Drop, cover, and hold on. Drop to the floor under a piece of furniture like a desk and hold on during an earthquake. After the all clear is given, evacuate. Don't run. Walk out of the building in an orderly manner to a designated location for a roll call, which will determine who is missing. The teachers are charged with the responsibility of keeping hundreds of students calm during these disasters.
You have to be in control, just as though you have to be in control of your classroom. You have to be in control of the situation. So your voice is that voice of authority. You spearhead it, and you can help to minimize the impact of such a disaster by giving clear, specific, sharp, and authoritative command and directions.
If an earthquake happens during school, then students, staff, everybody needs to know exactly what they should do. Because as you would appreciate, there are so many students in a school and so many entrances, exits. So if you have persons, a group of students running towards the exit, a lot could happen. There are rails. Children might even try to jump over the rails to get out.
It's also important, though, that when schools are developing their earthquake safety or their earthquake awareness programs, that they don't do it in a sort of broad context, that they actually look at their school and they identify safe zones within their classroom and within their context.
It's only through training that you would be more prepared to direct your actions. I believe that, like anyone else, adrenaline would either cause the fight, flight, or the fright. And the instinct that would come naturally to many of us, even as an educator, as well as to the student, is just run. If nothing else, you just run. So I'm not sure that we're ready to handle an earthquake.
Remember, all you have to do is find a safe place and move quickly to that spot.
Working through the schools is also critical, because you can develop programs that go through the schools, and it's designed in such a way that children can then take these messages back home, and so you have transfer of information from the schools to the wider community.
It's very important for us to have educational programs and other information programs, drills and exercises that persons become familiar with exactly what is expected of them if there is an earthquake while they're at school.
Another reason why I think earthquake drills are really important is because I think it helps to reduce the amount of panic that happens when an earthquake occurs.
A few commercial houses take emergency drills very seriously, but most prepare staff to evacuate in case of a fire, not earthquakes. Both require emergency responses that are somewhat different.
The fire drill is telling you to run outside, whereas with an earthquake drill, it's basically telling you to stay inside and take cover. It's actually better to stay inside and protect yourself during an earthquake rather than trying to run outside, because in the process of running outside, you could be hit by falling debris, which could cause even more damage than if you stayed inside. Of course, the first reaction is to run outside because you want to get away from anything you think the building may collapse or whatnot. But it is better if you're inside and you can find cover to protect your head and face, stay away from mirrors and windows and whatnot, get under a strong, sturdy table and protect yourself and hold on. That is much safer than trying to run outside, because again, things could shatter and fall and damage you.
Businesses must make earthquake drills a major part of their plan for emergencies. The threat from earthquakes is real. Earthquake drills remind workers of what needs to be done during an emergency and to remain calm.
The thing about an earthquake is it's very sudden, there's no warning, it takes a while to figure out what's going on, and immediately people become scared because the very earth beneath you is moving. I think if this were practiced regularly through drills, at least it would reduce, I mean not completely eliminate, but it would reduce the likelihood of people panicking when the event actually occurs.
Often ignorance, not knowing what to do, is what makes people panic, and often when you panic, you tend to do things that are absolutely contrary to what you should be doing to save yourself and to save the lives of those around you in times of disaster.
History recalls that destructive tsunamis have struck the Caribbean over the past 500 years. Any day now, a major earthquake can trigger another devastating tsunami.
Tsunamis have impacted the Caribbean in the past, and certainly tsunamis can impact the Caribbean in the future. Whether or not it could be on the same scale as the Asian tsunami in 2004 is another question. But still, we would want to be prepared for an event like that.
The islands of the Caribbean depend heavily on tourism. Most hotels lie just a few meters from the shores. Millions of Caribbean people live right along the shore, making themselves a direct target for sea surges and tsunamis.
I don't think that very many people really understand how vulnerable they are when they build on the coast and when they build on reclaimed land. And I think that there's need for greater education in that regard.
My name is Go Williams. I'm in the construction business. Our motto is move the earth to please, but I always acknowledge and know that the earth can move as it pleases. Poor building techniques, poor materials, and shoddy workmanship lead to disasters. Earthquakes don't kill people, disasters do. And we should make sure that we don't contribute to it by building poor buildings. Build right, build smart.
To learn more, log on to www.weready.org.
How many beats are there in a whole note? How many? Four. Somebody clap them off for me, please. No. Shake it down. The building's tumbling down. Drop cover and hold, or look out into the sea, and I see a tsunami. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. I say run, run, run into higher ground. Run, you know that you have to run. Run, you got to make haste. In order to be safe, you got to find a high place. I say run, you run into higher ground. Faster, you know that you have to run. You got to make haste. In order to be safe, you got to find a high place.
But unlike earthquakes, tsunamis do give low-lying coastal villages, towns and cities minutes to evacuate. or be wiped out. So one critical issue facing emergency response teams is how to use precious time to evacuate congested areas. An evacuation drill in Bridgetown recently witnessed chaotic scenes with motorists and pedestrians trying to get out of town. This drew sharp attention to the need for an orderly evacuation of the city in the aftermath of a tsunami warning.
I think the reason for that was because during the actual tremor, because of the panic that ensued, the roads were very much jam-packed and people had a very difficult time evacuating town and the city area.
One of the suggestions coming out of the Bridgetown exercise was for a controlled evacuation with priority given to vulnerable groups and emergency services.
We start with the children, then the civil servants, the non-essential civil servants, they're allowed to go.
But I think it was very useful in terms of making people aware of the steps and the procedures that they had to take. They put certain traffic arrangements in place, and so people are now somewhat aware of what to expect and what the traffic regulations would be in terms of making certain roads one way and one way out of town.
At the moment, there's no tsunami warning system for the Caribbean. That's currently being set up. So there will not be a tsunami warning. But in the meantime, what we tell people is that they should learn to recognize the natural warning signs of tsunami. If you're at the beach and you feel a strong earthquake, and then the water recedes, you should immediately head for higher ground because it may mean that a tsunami may be coming. Sometimes you feel a strong earthquake and the water does not recede. You should still head for high ground because the tsunami is not always preceded by the water pushing back. Sometimes it sounds like the roar of an oncoming train. All of those things. So the sea receding, the shaking of the ground, the sound of sounding like a train. If you hear those things and you're at the coast, you should immediately head for high ground.
How a community responds after a disaster has struck is just as critical as efforts to brace for the impact of a hazard. Your National Disaster Management Response Units will spearhead coordinated activities. These disaster management offices are normally the official source for information before, during, and after a disaster. Most Caribbean nations have emergency response units that coordinate activities with the various branches of the Red Cross.
They would be able to make a damage and needs assessment, actually tell us what exactly the damage is in their community, let us know what kind of emergency relief is needed, so that by the time we come in, and I say we, whether it might be from outside of the local area or outside of the country itself, depending on the extent of the damage, by the time we come in, we know exactly what we need to bring with us. We aren't going there to do an assessment. We're coming in with a response to the needs that have been assessed, that have been determined by the community groups.
The impact of disasters can be minimized, but you must first get information from your local disaster office, and when the time comes, put into practice what you've learned and what you've planned. Your life and the lives of your family, friends, and neighbors will depend on it.
You prepare by helping yourself first and then those around you. I would also suggest that you learn first aid. It's a very useful skill, whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, whether you live alone, whether you live, in a huge family. It's a very useful skill. And first aid training is dispensed by all our national societies across the Caribbean region. You can contact them for first aid training so that you would know how to respond while waiting for the authorities to get on the scene.
It's essential to plan for an earthquake, how to act during an earthquake, and how to respond after an earthquake. Here's a reminder. Before an earthquake, build your home in accordance with the recommended building codes. Bolt heavy furniture, water tanks, water heaters, gas cylinders, and storage units to a wall or to the floor. Place the largest and heaviest items on lower shelves. Emergency items such as canned foods, medication, flashlights, battery-operated radios, fire extinguishers, and a first aid kit should be readily available and working properly. Your whole family should know how to use this emergency equipment and should also know how to turn off electricity, gas, and water using safety valves and main switches. Everyone at home should know what to do during an earthquake and should practice these tips through regular drills. During an earthquake, stay calm, do not panic, be alert. If inside, stay inside. Do not run out of the building. If inside, drop, cover, and hold on. Drop to the floor, get under cover of a sturdy desk, table or bed, and hold on. Avoid elevators or stairs. Move away from windows, mirrors, glass doors, pictures, bookcases, hanging plants, and heavy objects. If outside, stay away from glass buildings, electricity poles, and bridges. If outside and there are no obvious signs of danger nearby, stay right where you are. If you're driving, get off or get out from under a bridge. Look out for falling plastic, bricks, lighting fixtures, and other objects. After an earthquake, do check for broken gas lines and fires. Check utilities and switch them off if necessary. Check your house for serious damage and evacuate if the house seems likely to collapse. Be prepared for more earthquakes or aftershocks. Stay away from landslide-prone areas. Turn on a portable radio for emergency news. Do not light a match or turn on a light switch. Use a flashlight instead. Never touch power lines. Do not go sightseeing. Leave the streets clear for emergency and rescue vehicles. Do not attempt to move seriously injured persons unless they are in danger of further injury. You can rely on your National Disaster Office for official information on disaster preparedness and how to respond. Visit www.weready.org today to learn more about earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic activities. You'll also find links to the Seismic Research Center at the University of the West Indies in Trinidad, the official source of information on earthquakes. In Jamaica, you can visit the link for the Earthquake Unit, and for the British Virgin Islands, click on the Puerto Rico Seismic Network, the PRSN. Knowing more about earthquakes and how to prepare for a disaster has been proven to be effective in minimizing the risk of damage, injury, and death. And what you don't know can kill you.
Remember, Focus is shown or is aired every second and fourth Wednesday on CBN at 9 p.m. and every second and fourth Thursday on JTV at 6 p.m. and every second and fourth Saturday on Channel 52 at 7 p.m. Focus can also be viewed on www.bviddm.com.